Salam Ali, good morning, Mr. Munir.
Alaikum salam. Good morning as well.
How are you,
Uh,
sir?
Doing good, doing amazing.
So we're going to go ahead and change the format of these a little bit. We're going to dive into the numbers first, and then we're going to have a general few minutes of us sharing our worldviews and whatnot, okay? Now let me share my screen. Maybe some people are more visual beings, and it'll be a little bit easier for them to follow what we're trying to do here and talk about. Let's see. How's your day so far?
Well, it just started. So far, it was nice. It's a beautiful day out here. As you can see, the sky behind me. It's clear sky.
Did I share something?
Yeah,
Here
you
it is.
first shared the app, and then you're now with the recap of yesterday.
Okay, super. Okay, yesterday we booked 36 loads for $658 revenue per load. We had 473 bids. We had 277 declines. And we had 434 expired loads that nobody bid on. The win ratio was 7.61, which is one of the lower win ratios we've had. Um, did not pan out as we expected, as we spoke about, as we hoped for, as far as bouncing back after a previous low win ratio day as we did last week. Um, give us some insight on this. Enlighten us,
Man,
Guru Munir.
I would rather enlighten you on an amazing day that we had, but it really wasn't. We had less, around 100 bids less than usual. Usually we have around 520 to 570 bits. Uh, and as you can see, a lot of expired loads. We had 434. So the same amount of loads that we placed a bid on, same amount actually expired. So pretty much the same. So we wasted a bunch of loads out there. And overall, just win award ratio was not really great. There's not much we can say industry wise to explain this. It was just that bad day in our
Mm-hmm.
eyes. Bunch of the different factors combined that produced the day that it was yesterday. But really, just spoke briefly with the team prior to this meeting. This today has to be. There's like no alternative, no nothing else. Today has to be the better day for our drivers. We have 10 plus drivers that were not booked yesterday, and that's just very bad to see. Sorry, guys. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I mean it is what it is, man. All we can do is try to bounce back. We're updating these reports to be as informative as we can. And I've been mentioning as far as sort of the state. Hopefully by tomorrow's update, we can also show how many drivers did we have available, how many did we book, how many did we not book yesterday, just so people can kind of get a better picture on that as well. But I do want to share one more thing here. Give me a second. Okay. So here's what I want to share, guys. I had a conversation with one driver yesterday who has the ability to go to Canada. He's got the passport, he's got everything. Due to a few bad experiences where he went to Canada, got stuck, had to like wait at the receiver because of some delays, typical load stuff. And then I think there was one or two cases where there were some delays at the border. Let's say he was traumatized by going to Canada. So now, and then also there was some scenario where the fuel cost was like four times as expensive as it was in the US. I assume that it was some kind of a misunderstanding in the calculation because I've never seen fuel be four times as expensive in Canada. Yesterday, for example, when I spoke with him, I checked and fuel was in the US, fuel was um, like 350 on average, and then in Canada it was 450 in Toronto. So it's about $1 more, right? But anyways, I pulled up his earnings, which are on the left for the year, and I pulled up another driver's earnings, which are on the right. And this other driver on the right does go to Canada, can go to Canada, and overall, he's got a very, very open, dispatch settings, meaning it's flexible. This guy's probably never complained much about a load or anything. He understands we get whatever we can get. And, over the course of the year so far, and we're 12 months in, he's made 10,000 more gross. Um, by the time the year ends, so we've got about 4 times as much as we're in, he could be making $40,000 more, right? It's a humongous difference. And listen, the situation is what it is. The prices are what they are, right? There's logistics companies going out of there's logistics companies going out of business because the situation is what it is. And our fleet, there's a lot of drivers that are still doing okay. They're still consistently making pretty good money. They're still making, 2,500, 3,000 on average. And then there's another group of drivers that are not doing well at all. And of course, the rates are what they are, and the prices are, and the waiting time and everything is what it is. But you gotta adjust, man. You gotta pivot. I mean, you cannot just say, listen, I had a couple bad experiences with XYZ, therefore I refuse to do it. I don't care how much money I'm leaving on the table. It's not a few dollars, guys. When you limit your dispatch settings versus when you open them up, you're looking at 40, $50,000 a year. That's the amount that a whole person working a whole full-time job makes, right? I mean, again, we're not talking about if you do this, then you can make a few hundred more. And that's one opportunity that people gotta budge on, man. People cannot just double down on this is my preferences, this is what I want. Um, that's probably my biggest words of advice for our drivers. Don't stubbornly, set your preferences and say, this is what I want. You guys work with it. People say, well, I've got half the US open, so what's the problem? You guys should be able to book me. It's not a matter of us not wanting to book you. If there's loads available, we'll book you. If there's no loads available, we can't book you, right? On
Right.
average, our goal is to get 10, 15% win ratio. That means that our goal is to get 1 out of every 10 bids because our prices are so high. Lately, last few days, it's been 7, 8%. So we got to adjust the prices, or you got to open up your map if you want to stay busier. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to share that. And then anything on that from your side before we move on?
Uh, no, not really. The expired one again is a big thing, guys. And let me tell you something bluntly, as blunt as I can. 4 years ago, when we used to have a different setup, when we didn't have app, where our
Yep,
drivers, the most complicated note in the system was no West, and West being Washington and Oregon,
yep.
we had no problems booking drivers because there were no expired loads, and
Look,
we were
man,
booking all over.
this guy that I shared, I'm gonna pause the recording so I can tell you who it is, even though you might know. So
Zam.
yeah, this guy that I shared, I just told Monir while the recording was paused. He's pretty much all green, or if something is yellow, he'll bid on it quickly. I don't think he's ever called to yell at somebody about a load. And I keep referencing that, and I don't know if people understand what I mean by it. But let me put it bluntly, when you are a pain in the ass to dispatch, dispatch will not take the necessary risks and act quickly to book you in those cases where they have to act quickly and take a risk. And that may sound mean to some people. That may sound like I'm saying shut up and drive. I'm not. Anytime you have a complaint, anytime you have a question, we're here. But I've spoken to drivers who have told me this. They literally say, I am an ass to dispatchers on purpose because if I'm nice to them, they're going to take advantage of me. And by being rude and by being yelling at them and by almost insulting people, I keep them on the edge and I make them, make sure that they're always, looking out and always 100. No, that's not how life works, man. People that are assholes to other people, they don't get treated well. And here, no driver will be left behind because they're rude. But when we place a bid for $1,000 and it's for a driver who's polite and nice and patient and understanding, and the customer responds and says or calls us, Munir, I got a bid for 900. If you can come to 950, I can give it to you. Munir is going to respond and say, okay, I'll book it because this guy is understanding. And then if there's another driver who every time Munir books a load that's not perfect, the other driver calls and says, hey, Munir, what the hell are you doing, man? You guys don't care about drivers. You're only looking out for your own profits. And, don't ever do this again. Don't ever book a load like this again. Munir will not take that risk. Instead, Munir will call the driver and say, hey, there's a load available. And then the driver's going to get into a whole scenario where he's yelling at Munir for even offering it to him. And then that load is going to be covered. And that's what ends up making a big difference, right?
It does. It does. More than often, more than often. But again, the point is we created the app for the purpose of drivers having more freedom. Freedom is not always good, especially when you're not expert in something. So in order to utilize it correctly, we need to lower the number of loads that we don't answer on, meaning don't respond on. So we need to place bids or decline loads so we know where we stand.
Yeah, we're it's tough, man, because anytime you build something that gives someone control and gives them ability to affect things, that person has to be responsible and knowledgeable and interested in using it properly. And that's what's been missing at times, where people will go in and make dispatch settings. And then, of course, I mean, it's our job to follow up and it's our job to fix things that are broken and it's our job to guide people to the right thing. And we'll continue to do that. But yeah, I mean, it's frustrating for everybody. I mean, I'm a little fired up right now because I am frustrated on our driver's behalf. I mean, I'm frustrated for our dispatch. I'm frustrated for us as a company. I mean, people are sitting out there for a day and 2 days and more waiting for loads. And I popped in yesterday, man. I popped in to place a bid, Maryland to Laredo. I think like 17 or 1800 miles. So 1,800 miles. I bid like 1,800, I think something like that, right? I mean, it's Texas. Who wants to go to Texas for under $1 a mile? Only insane people do. The customer comes back and declines the bid and says your bid's too high. I said, well, let me know what I'm competing with. What are others? He said 1,100 is the other bids I'm getting. That is 60 cents a mile. Now, 60 cents is what the company is bidding. Every company in the world is going to take between 10 and 20% because a company cannot stay in business if they're not making money on the loads. That means the driver is driving for 45 to 50 cents a mile into Laredo. And this is what
Insane.
it's a reality of the situation. This is not something I'm making up. It's an email that I have that we can forward to everybody if they don't believe it. And I mean that's the reality of the situation. I don't know why. I don't know where I was going with that.
It is a reality of situation that we need to a lot of times compete with people that are or companies that are willing to go for peanuts. And we're not. We have to sustain our business, and our drivers have to support their families. And it's not just for gas and a couple of bucks. It's impossible to work that.
We
And
had a load.
we're in luck that the majority of our loads we're actually doing with reputable big uh, companies, meaning that they will not always choose that 60 cents a mile. They might choose us over them.
Yes, sir. We had a load yesterday morning that was we had to cancel because of a system issue. The system showed a long location, which has been fixed. Any driver that notices any mapping issues, let us know. It should be fixed. We had to call and cancel. This is our second biggest customer, company that loves working with us. They praise us up and down every month. They were in their platinum or premium or gold or whatever bullshit thing they whatever bullshit title they give you. And yesterday we had a load that was canceled, and then we placed 50 more loads. So we had to cancel the load we booked. We apologized. We offered to cover any expenses they may have. We were as professional as you can be with it. And then we had 50 additional bids we placed with them. They didn't give us any loads yesterday. Now we reached out to them and we ironed it out. But what happens is that there's a dispatcher out there who's got too much power, who's got a power trip, and he's feeling assholish that day. So what he does is you have one tiny situation happen, and even though you've worked with this company for 10 years, even though you're somewhere in there on their wall as a top carrier, and even though all of these things happen, this one guy says, you know what, just turn BHX off today. And that's the frustrating part. Companies that have the power to keep us moving or not keep us moving are often companies that the people that are making those decisions should not be making those decisions. But again, that doubles down on the quality that we have to bring. The drivers have to communicate delays. The drivers have to be on time. We have to provide good communication. Our systems have to be accurate. I mean, everything has to be firing on all cylinders in order for things to flow smoothly. Um, and hopefully that situation is resolved today and we're able to kiss and make up.
Hopefully.
All right. I wanted to share three best loads we booked yesterday. This was the guy that actually we looked at his paycheck a minute or not check, but his year-to-date earnings a minute ago. So this was Pennsylvania going to Manitoba, which is right across the border in Canada. Now our system calculates the rate back to Fargo. So when we're bidding on these loads, we are calculating the price back for you to go to Fargo. And that's why you see the number 2 in Canada, but then the R is down in Fargo, North Dakota. So total for him to get back to Fargo, it's 1,640 miles. He got $1,580. Very good load. I mean, if you think about it, in a couple of days, he's making 1,580 and he's still ending up in a pretty decent area for loads. Next one, I don't know what driver this was. I didn't get it, but
Ziad,
Kentucky,
our brother Ziad from Louisville, he's back in the action after 20 days of being on vacation. We got
nice
we got you, brother.
kickoff on the right foot. Good news. So it's Kentucky to Cali, grand total 2161 on the miles, and it's 90 cents a mile, 1950. I remember days, man, where loads to Cali where would pay $1.20, $1.30. It is what it is, and right now 90 is is the going rate. Last but not least, another Canada load. We got Arkansas going to Nova Scotia. I didn't capture the map, but it's a big one. It's 2,141 loaded miles. He had or she had a 217 empty and 545 to get back to Boston. Believe it or not, there's not too many loads available up in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So we send our drivers back to Boston on these. Very good load, 2,945. Absolutely phenomenal load. Happy to see our driver make that kind of money on a load like this. Honestly, I almost want to say that it's too high, and that may sound weird to people, but if I mean, it makes sense to book this for 2,600 even. Even that's a dollar or so a mile, and you end up in a good area. And why would we want to book it for less? Well, because if we bid less, then we'll book more of these. So instead of getting this once a month, our drivers may get loads like this 5 times a month if our price is more competitive, right? So that's something that we'll go back at and see if we need to adjust.
Those are rare as
Ah,
well. They don't
huh?
happen every day. Nova Scotia loads, even the loads
Right,
going there are not there often.
right. There's not too many of those. Um, okay, anything else as far as the operation stuff or as far as business you want to share?
Uh, no, not really. Today, no words of operation, no proper operational problems yesterday, as if I can recall correctly.
Cool. One thing I want to do, man, is I listened to this is kind of jumping off to the other side of this videos, the general Munir Aldin chat. I listened to a video, a lecture. There's a series during Ramadan that is absolutely phenomenal by Omer Suleiman, and he mentioned something in it, and I wanna share it. He was talking about our supplications, and you might know this. A Islamic figure from the past, Ibrahim ibn Adham, said
Oh,
the reasons that our supplications are not accepted is we believe in God, but we do not confirm His directions. We don't follow His directions. Um,
you know who Ibrahim ibn Adham was?
Tell me,
Ibrahim ibn Adham was a prince,
okay?
one of the royal families in the east. I think it was nowadays India, and he had all the wealth and everything. And father was a king of that province. He
Uh-huh.
was the heir, and then he became the king of that province.
Okay.
But he felt like he's too detached to the dunya, to this world.
Yeah.
And one day he went to the bank of the river. He saw um, a guy, a fisherman or a shepherd. I'm not sure who he was. And he said, "I give you my clothes, you give me yours."
Uh-huh.
They exchanged their clothes, and he never went back. He actually left a wife.
Wow.
He actually left a wife and I think son, and went into the world to seek for knowledge and
Yeah.
to look for um as they say the signs of God. And yeah, he was one of the as we as the most spiritually profound people in the Islamic tradition.
Yeah.
The story goes he would later meet his son in Mecca.
Uh-huh.
And there's a lot of different stories about that guy. Like there's like in Bosnian and in Turkish, there's like even the songs about that guy.
Really?
I'll send you one.
Yeah, please. So he said, you know God, yet you do not obey him. You recite the Quran, yet do not act according to it. You know the devil, yet you have agreed with him. You proclaim that you love the prophet, yet you don't follow him. You proclaim your love for paradise, yet you do not act to gain it. You proclaim your fear of the fire, yet you do not prevent yourself from sins. You say, indeed, death is true, yet you do not prepare for it. You point out the fault of others, yet you do not look at your own faults. You eat of that which God has provided for you, yet you do not thank Him. And you bury the dead, yet you do not take a lesson from it. I found it to be profound, man. I found it to be interesting, and I wanted to share. The other thing, man,
Beautiful.
in the lecture, apart from that, that they were saying is, um, every every time you make a prayer to God, every time you make a supplication, as it's called, it's accepted in one of three ways. Either immediately what you pray for you get, um, either delayed for the hereafter, and your prayer is given to you in a different form in the hereafter, or you're saved from a calamity that you would have otherwise been, strucken with. So, I mean, for drivers that are on the road, 300 and whatever it is, 30 days a year, uh, spending that much time driving, it might be being saved from an accident or something like that. Um, but yeah, man, just in the spirits of Ramadan, trying to balance um the stress that comes with everything going on in our industry, and then also finding time for that spiritual journey, you know.
Indeed. You
Anything
uh
else? You
you took you took over that words of wisdom part. I'm not gonna say anything. It was too good.
Yeah, yeah, there's a that side of life. I don't know if this is everywhere in the world, but the deeper side of life is often abandoned for or forgotten, neglected. We neglect our heart and the need and its needs, out of the pursuit of what our belly needs. And the belly extends past what we eat, but it's all the material things that we chase, um and then at the end, you know, you leave it all behind anyways. So
Preach.
reach. Cool, man. Anything else you want to go over before we wrap up?
Nothing. Stay safe, guys, out there.
I think people will like this new format where they get the meat and potatoes right up front, and then on the back end, if they're in the mood for some dessert, they can stick around. Salam alaikum, everybody. Peace be with you all. Stay safe. Call us if you need us, and we will make it through these times.